It'll take a couple of minutes with Zoom.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, boom. But anything that you say from this point forward will be on the replay, so it can and will be held against you.
Better say some good things then, hadn't I?
Isn't that how this whole thing works, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Everything we do will be held accountable for. What is, let's see, is it, oh, there it is. Okay, we're on. Okay, it's going to take a little bit. Let's see here. Let me turn the volume off. Boom. We got 5 people in the house. Kathy Waldowski has joined us.
Are you watching it on YouTube or?
I'm actually watching the Facebook on my page. That usually
okay.
That's typically the biggest crowd. Yeah, YouTube has quite a few as well, but I can only see one at a time.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, everything's hooking up just fine. All right, Devon, UK. Devon. I can't remember how to pronounce that from my past life. Too bright. Yeah, there we go. Much better. All right, we got 13 people in the house on this page. Looks like we got yeah. Here we go. Eon Boldy, what's happening? Julia Allen from Devon. So we've got the incredible, we met her just 2-3 weeks ago. What's up, Allison from New York? Nicola Farmer's in the house. Nicola. Nicola. I get messed up all these names. Dr. Joe's in the house. Howdy do D. Well, I sure got a lot of messages and feedback from the show we did last time. Everybody's like, where did she come from? I'm like, I don't know where the rest of them come from. But yeah, it's always, and we've had some great shows this month with this hero's journey.
Yeah.
But it's just like, it's so cool meeting people that have been so connected, and you're like, how the hell did they even function in society? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, talk about feeling like the odd one out.
I know. It's been quite a month. I mean, what is it, the 20th today? And these 20 days have been like a roller coaster.
I'm glad to hear someone like you say that.
Yeah. Well, actually, I'm doing a trance session tomorrow because I want answers. I want actual answers from consciousness as to why, when these energy shifts are happening, when these waves are coming through the earth, why, with those of us that are doing our best for consciousness in every which way we can, why are we suffering physically?
So that I want to ask you about this. First of all, so do you, okay, you said you're going to go into what do you call it? A trance, what?
Trance, yeah.
Okay, so you're going to go into like a trance connection. Do you do that often? Is that part of your normal? Okay.
Yeah.
And you do it for yourself, or do you do it for yourself and to share it as well, or a little bit of both?
Yeah, both. We have a trance group that sit together as often as we can.
In person? Is it on Zoom or in person?
No, it's in person.
Oh, really?
I have one of my rooms here in our home is a trance. It's completely blacked out. You can't see your hand in front of your face. And I have what's called a trance cabinet in there, which is like a closet without doors on the front, really.
Okay.
And that helps enhance the energy. It helps. It helps with the essence of being in a trance-like state. We call it an altered state of consciousness. And then the people that sit in the room with me sit for me and for consciousness, so that we can hold the energy stable whilst I go into this altered state. And then generally 1 or 2, maybe 3 of my Council of Light will talk through me in their dialect. Really? Yeah.
So the energy complex you work with, it sounds like you refer to as a council of light. There are individual essences or entities that make that up, and each one of them speaks individually. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I don't separate them up because for me, it's a collective consciousness.
Yeah.
But for people that need that tangible, that identity, then they identify themselves as individuals when they need to.
Yeah,
It's easy to tell who they are by the voice that comes through me.
Through you. Wow, that's trippy. I've seen like, I think it's different when you see someone on screen versus someone in person. I remember when Morgan came in 2017 to come together, and it was about 3 or 4 days into it, and she said, well, let's sit across from each other and see what happens. And the mother goddess came into her. You could physically see it come into her body. I'd never been exposed to anything like that. I'd never obviously been exposed to an ET that close either,
Yeah.
And so and then she came in, and her voice changed dramatically. It got lower, and it was very measured the way it came out, almost like the code was in the phrasing of the words. And then the message was quite profound because it was a personal message for me. And it was just like, whoa, like, those moments when you're like, how did you know that?
Yeah.
So, that's it's a powerful. Have you ever, I know this might be something that just wouldn't work or inappropriate, but have you ever considered like doing it on screen?
Yeah, I have done.
Oh, you have?
Yeah, well, because of the last 18 months of not being able to be with people in person at certain times, then the regular classes that I teach have all been on Zoom. And then once a month, we have a group that gather from all around the world that connect into the energy of the Magdalens.
Yeah.
And I then go into an altered state, and the energies speak through me in that group as well.
Wow. I'd like to see that.
Yeah.
That would be powerful.
Yeah.
So, well, first of all, welcome back. And thank you for the co-creation and collaboration, and for everything that you do. You've got a couple of images. This show's not about me. I'm just going to hand it over to you. And, put you on the spot.
Thanks, Todd.
You're welcome.
Well, I mean, as we know, there's a lot happening at the moment, and we're all feeling it one way or another. Literally, Tuesday was probably the most intense, energetic feeling I've ever had.
Let me check what's today? Friday?
Friday.
So that would have been 17th. The 18th, and this is really weird because I want to say around the previous weekend, Morgan and I go back and forth, and she sends me a message and she says, August 18th. And I said, what? She goes, I don't know. Now I woke up August 18th. I had 5 messages from 5 different people that I would consider close to me.
Yeah.
And that's not very many people that are, you know what I mean? So that was a small group to pull from. And each one of them, in the energy of their message, I knew something was up. So I had already connected when I was laying in bed, and then I said, okay, let's get ready. And you're right. I mean, it was a massive, and I saw it too, because I jumped on, Facebook a couple of times, and everybody was, and I mean, everybody was saying something. And so, yeah, thank you for reinforcing and validating that.
Well, I literally sat on the end of my bed, and I've got a waist height drawers at the end of my bed, and I literally leant onto them and was holding on. I mean, anybody that's given birth will know that, when those contractions come, you hold tight. Right. And that's how it felt, as if we were birthing something so huge on Tuesday that we just had to hold on by our fingertips, because it swept through, and it was like a tsunami.
Yeah. when I jumped on, I didn't get on that. I don't get on that much. I just share posts to Soulogy. So I'll search for things, but there were, and I can't remember who it was, but there were three. One was a meme and a couple were little posts, and all three of them were talking about what you're talking about. And I was trying to explain to Morgan last night, because I can't remember the words, but what I do remember is once I, got the 5 messages and I balanced myself and I came in here, there's been many times over the last 10 years where you walk outside and go, wow, the world's different. But that day, the message, I'm going to try to put this the best way I can. The message I got, or what I understood, was that only the organic would thrive from this point on, that the inorganic had ceased, and it was no longer going to be expanding in any way, even if you try to hold on to it, So it's that old Zen proverb, let go or be dragged, but yeah.
Well, a couple of Sundays ago, we had a trance session, and one of the energies that speak through me, she said that we need to start embracing the darkness, because that shields in the darkness is dissolving.
Yeah.
And therefore the darkness is now to be embraced, because if we are embracing it now, the light can shine brighter. But the key was that which is dissolving in the darkness, that's shielding in the darkness.
Yeah, that rings true. I was a little bit hesitant to do anything this morning with this information I got, but now that you said that, I'm just going to share it with you. So one of the things that came this morning was, and I've got to be careful what I say, because we've been removed a couple of times and threatened, but it was basically saying that the COVID thing and everything that came from it or comes from it would be the fall of all the patriarchal institutions, which is very much like what you're saying, because what I was getting was that it will show everything behind the curtain, basically.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Well, the other guidance I keep receiving is that the void that has opened up literally between humanity is getting wider. But the guidance I was seeing and the images that I was seeing is that, the Earth, the Merkaba science of the Earth is based on a star tetrahedron. Here's one I made earlier.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. That's cool.
Okay.
You made that?
No, I didn't. I got it.
I was going to say, wow.
So we know that these are two triangles intersecting, the top one and the bottom one representing the masculine and the feminine. So we know that the Earth has a giant star tetrahedron based on the geometry around it. But what I'm being shown is the two triangles coming apart. Okay, so they would have been intersected in a way like this. They've come apart, twisted, and they're dividing. Now we've got the masculine and the feminine, and what we've got an overload within the masculine of those that are in fear, worry, anxiety, doubt, and we've got those that are in the feminine side that are holding the space of peace and really holding as much as they can within the divine feminine to get the Earth where it needs to be. Well, where these two have come apart, we've got the void in the middle. Actually, I'll probably show you on a diagram. Is that okay to share?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So effectively, we've got the star tetrahedron that's turned 90 degrees, come apart, and we have the void in the middle. Now, in the void, we've got the separation, the duality, and the polarity, which is the third dimension. But as we know right now, we're under the influence in the void of the control, coercion, manipulation, etc. So this bit in the middle is literally the MSM, social media, that will suck people into the drama. Now, all of those that are on this side at the moment, on the fear, the judgment, and the anger side, the masculine side, there's nothing stopping them moving through the void and coming into the feminine. But what we're finding is, I'm just going to stop that for a sec. What we're finding is that those of us that are holding that space, we have to keep reaching out to those that are being pulled into the void. And the void being that which most people are finding themselves not knowing which way to turn. And in all of my groups that I teach, I've been saying to them, do not, under any circumstances, feel like you're alone at the moment. You know, if you've got those feelings of loneliness or being pulled into a drama or something that's uncomfortable, then we absolutely need to be reaching out to each other and saying, you know, give me a lifeline right now.
Yeah.
Because as we get pulled into that void, we're being pulled into the nothingness where you move through it and then move into the negative side.
Yeah.
I kind of saw it today as a cartoon character, as if the world has come apart into two halves. And all these people, you know, when you watch the film Titanic and they're all hanging onto the boat so that they don't fall into the sea. Well, I kind of see people hanging onto the sides of the earth right now, not wanting to fall into the void. And there's all of us reaching out and grabbing them. If I could do it as a cartoon image, it would be amazing. But to me, that's what it feels like right now. And it's imperative, absolutely imperative, that we are reaching out to those who are calling out. Yeah.
In true unity versus codependency, you know, come in my bucket and wallow in the worry with me. This is interesting too, because I went to bed. I go to bed really early in the morning, like 4 o'clock. I went to bed last night, talked to Morgan, went to bed, did a few things, went to bed. And about an hour and a half later, I woke up and it was very vivid. And I had a vision and a lot like your drawing there. And I was trying to explain to Morgan, I said, I don't really get all this, but there was, let's say that masculine side. I'm just going to use your diagram.
Yeah.
And that I was calling it, I said, I don't know what this is in the middle, but it's like, I would just call it, say, the 0 point or something, like the neutral or the void or whatever you want to call it. And what had happened was I was shown going back about 3 to 4 months what I had been doing. So there was kind of a personal message in it, but I told her, I said, but I feel like this is collective. It's showing something and I don't get it because I don't normally get stuff like this. And what it was I had gone through, I had approached it. And as I was approaching it, all of these things had happened to me, which is true physically. And I won't get into it, like things that were demonstrating kind of a breakdown, like a shedding of the skin. And I told her, I said, and then I was shown that I hit this middle point, or we hit this middle point.
Yeah.
And that from that middle point, we move into what you're showing as the feminine. And that everything I was told, this morning when this happened, that everything from this point now forward will be regenerated.
Yeah.
So, and so it fits what you're saying. There's no coincidences.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the star tetrahedral science has been in place in situ for, 13,000 years. And we know at some point that geometry will change. And the guidance I keep receiving right now is that, these two triangles, as they've separated, they've come completely apart, but they are three-sided triangles that will at some point morph into pyramids. Okay. And as they morph into pyramids, their magnetic pull to bring them back together will be so powerful that it will squash the void, it will crush it. And when they lock together and turn 90 degrees, effectively, what have we got?
That's like what is that? Like
an octahedron.
Octahedron, yeah.
So what I keep visualizing is that the Merkaba science will change from the star tetrahedron to the octahedron, because the octahedron being four-sided on its base, the square, will take us into the fourth dimension, squeeze out that negativity in the middle, lock together, turn, which will create the sacred union of the masculine and the feminine in one energy, being the octahedron.
That's very encouraging.
Yeah. You know, and I feel really strongly now that as we evolve, as we, you know, sit and even in meditation, through sleep state, through conscious state, we need to be staying in that neutral point ourselves and holding that space of peace, because it's going to take us into the new earth much quicker than we possibly anticipate. But, you know, as we know, there's no time or space. So whatever time scale we're looking at, we are definitely moving in the right direction, for sure.
Yeah. I love that. What do you call it? The void. I always think of, or my experience personally, I'm not saying this is for everybody, but I remember, you know, 10 years ago when I was on the streets and started this thing and writing, you know, just basically as a conduit. And the term was holy darkness, mother darkness, the void. You know, this is the womb of creation. And now that you've explained this, because that was going to be my question, is the geometry going to change? And you've just answered it. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, you know, this is what I'm being guided with. And for me, I mean, if you take the star tetrahedron, okay, and if you take all of the 8 points off of a star tetrahedron, you're actually left with an octahedron.
Wow.
So if we could pull all of these points off, these 8 points, we would be left with the octahedron in the center. And if we look at the masculine and the feminine being intertwined within the star tetrahedron, and we separate them, which is exactly what we're going through, is the absolute separation of humanity through whatever means, and that morphs into the pyramid, and they come back together. There's no interaction, there's no interlocking. They become one in the sacred union. And that to me is what gives us focus to keep moving forward through any amount of adversity, because we're here to finish what we came and started.
Yeah. It's the home stretch, right?
It is. We're on the home run. We sure are. You know, many of us won't come back after this lifetime. Many of us can go, you know, back to the star system, the planet, whatever you want to call it. We can go back to where we originated from. And at that point, we know we've achieved what we came to do, and we don't have to come back. We could choose to come back here, but there's no requisite to come back and finish what we started, because we will finish it in this lifetime.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Do you think, I don't want to get off track, but do you think that once this occurs, what you've just shown us, that in terms of like, I guess the literal, I don't know how to put it, but they say the post Earth, you know, post that occurrence, that it'll return to, you know, where, you know, if I want to live 800 years, I'll live 800 years.
I think anything's possible. I feel it depends on the individual soul contract, the individual purpose of that person. You know, we know in ancient times that they would literally not die, they would morph into the next version of themselves. And I'm constantly saying to people, you know, when you're going through these major shifts in energy, allow the new version of you to emerge. Allow him to come out, allow her to come out. Well, that's got to be a prerequisite of immortality, except we're limited in a human body to be immortal, because at the moment the physical body can't be immortal. We know the soul is anyway. But when we move into the new dimensions, 4th, 5th, and onto the 6th eventually, the physical body will have morphed with us. Yes.
And maybe that's the answer to the question that you had at the top of the show when you were telling me about what you're going to do and what answers you're going to seek. And maybe that's what it is. You know, is the, because I know, like I was talking to Morgan last night, you know, I've gone pretty much, I'm vegan, I guess, or vegetarian. And this is not like, oh, I'm, you know, let me stand on a pedestal. This is just, I mean, I'm that's all I'm eating. And I'm not eating much.
No.
I mean, my calorie intake is probably 1,000, maybe, it's maybe 96 ounces of fresh juice, that I juice with organic vegetables and fruit. And then maybe a snack is a lettuce sandwich, or right now I'm sauteing some beets with kale.
Yeah.
And so there's all these things that are happening, habits dropping, and I'm not the only one. So maybe that's what it is. She said to me last night, I said, I don't know what's happening. I'm turning into a rabbit. And she said, what I think it is that all of the other multidimensional aspects have come into alignment. And now the body itself, the physical Merkaba, is coming into alignment. So it's your higher self. Because I told her a funny story. I went down to the store. I said, man, I can't handle this. I need something with solidity to it. So I tried to stay on the course, and I went to the health food section, and I got a roll. It was what do you call it? A gluten-free. I've never had one. So I got a gluten-free roll and some gluten-free cheese, some fake cheese, whatever that is. And I made the sandwich, and I took one bite, and I was like, oh my God, this is horrible. And she said, well, that's probably your higher self leading you there. So you'll stay on, go back to what you do. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I am going to get answers, because there's so many of us that need to know how we can function through these shifts. What is it we need to do? What do we need to be? And I will get answers tomorrow, because so many of us need them.
Yeah.
If we're here in service, we're here to make a difference. All of these hits our bodies are taking, they're knocking us sideways.
Yeah.
So I will get answers tomorrow, I'm sure.
Are you going to, not that you have to, I'm just curious, are you going to share those findings?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
We'll record the session on a voice recorder, and then transcribe them and put them out as a written document.
Wow.
Yeah. We've got quite a few of some really fascinating information that comes. So yes, it will be transcribed.
That would be interesting to see. I'd like to even hear the audio. I think that would be very powerful.
I might just send you a copy.
I've been trying to get things organized. I'm just following the higher guidance. I really don't know where it's going. I know eventually it'll be an expanded network with multiple channels and all that, but I've been working on some downloading all the shows and start editing excerpts. So that's where I don't know where it's going. And what I understand is that it's going to be something I've never done, that I haven't seen, where I put a video production together. So you got the audio, the visual, and the of course the words. And so I'm thinking in those terms, like, wow, if I had that audio, what could I create with it? Because I have a feeling it's going to be a very significant message, because it's so appropriate for what's happening right now. Absolutely.
I mean, I'm not adverse to asking the question and getting the answer, but I want to hear it from the horse's mouth myself.
Yeah.
So by going into an altered state, there's no interference of my own mind interpreting what I think they're saying, and therefore, when it's recorded, it comes through from that level of consciousness in their voice, their words.
Yeah, that's powerful.
Yeah, which
that's powerful.
I feel is very important.
Well, and I just want to say this too, and please continue, but again, coming from someone like you, to have that question carries a lot of weight with me, because I can guarantee you, and me included, everyone on here has had that conversation with the universe. Like, hey, I know I'm on the mission. I've got the information, but throw me a bone here. Give me something, right? We have those moments. So this will be interesting to see what kind of response you get. I will definitely share it with you.
Some of the recent, or actually it was last year, it wasn't recent. I was asking about, the effects of 5G and toxins going into the body by whatever means. And I was told by one of the council that we're not to fear any of them. And I said, well, I'm not talking about fear, but I'm asking you, what do we do? And they said, the more light we hold in our physical bodies, the more that the energies that we interact with through choice or no choice, our bodies, the light in our bodies will become the transmutation of the toxins into quantum light.
Yeah, I've always felt that, when I do these solo shows sometimes and I get on a roll, I'll say, hey, they can do whatever they want. I mean, chemtrails, GMOs, fluoride, we're still here and we're thriving.
I only have to look out my window and see how green my garden is.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes. That's the indication. There might be 5G towers around here and chemtrails, etc., but my garden is thriving, so why shouldn't I?
That's right.
But she said, make sure you're holding the light. The toxins will be transmuted into quantum light, which will make our bodies lighter.
Yeah. Yes. So it's actually, it's an alchemy.
It is absolutely an alchemy.
Which, based on what you're saying, and I think this is what, I'm getting in general terms, it's all right here. In other words,
absolutely.
Far out.
Some people I know will turn their routers off at night. Well, that's futile because my neighbors have them. It's coming through no matter what.
Yeah, that's right.
So it is about the mindset. Well, actually, I'm going to rephrase that. It's not about the mindset. It's about the heart set.
True. Yeah, true. Yeah.
Okay. If I'm operating from my heart, then it's not that I'm infallible. It simply means that I will not be in fear of anything that could potentially harm me, because that's what other people are saying, and everybody is entitled to their opinion. And I wouldn't dream of changing somebody's opinion. I can just share my truth and how I feel. And for me, we have the absolute capability to be the light and not be affected by anything that would possibly cause harm.
Yeah, and that fits. I mean, we can't divorce ourselves from any aspect of the universe. So here we are, talk about embodiment, so that resistance. I agree with you 100%. I've had a lot of people will say to me, you need to talk about 5G. And I said, I don't want to talk about 5G because 5D supersedes 5G. So let's just stay on the course, right?
Exactly. Yeah. That 3G, 4G, 5G, it's following the course of consciousness.
Boom.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah, absolutely. But ultimately, for you to feel that alchemy or alchemic change in you, because you're the ultimate alchemist. You as a person, you Todd yourself. You carry the Magi heart within your field, and that is the epitome of the healer, the magician, the alchemist. And as you hold that heart in your field, that is the absolute epitome of being able to transmute whatever is needed within a human body.
Wow. Did you just do something to me? I just saw Merlin like flipping my head. And some kind of noise and a big golden yellow light. Thank you.
Yeah, well, it just activated your Magi heart. That's exactly what's happened. And Merlin is so close to you. I mean, it's integral to who you are.
Yeah, I love the magician card.
Yeah, but you're the ultimate alchemist as well. You are making things happen, and you couldn't do that to the extent that you're doing it without that Magi heart. It's amazing.
You're amazing. You are. You're
I do my best, Todd.
You are freaking amazing.
Yeah. I was going to talk about a little bit about what we're doing with the children as well, because I know we touched on it last time, but I'm getting to that point now where, yes, we can, as adults, we can work with the light, we can channel, we can do all of those things. But these children that are being born now, I mean, they are, I can't remember whether I spoke about this last time, but I feel I need to touch on it again anyway. I was very honored to be in a visual with these golden pods of light that was suspended around the earth. This was about 5 or 6 years ago, or 5 years ago. And in these pods, they were incubating new souls. And these giant golden pods were suspended above sacred sites around the earth. And I asked if I could, go inside one and see what it was like. And I was taken inside, and there was just these thousands of, tiny incubating souls that were being prepared to be born from 2020 onwards. And I asked their origin, and they said the origin is that of God. And I said, okay. I said the creation, the God energy, and they said yes. They're not from a planet. They're not from anywhere else other than the pure essence of the God energy. So, and I said, are there any of these children on the earth now? And they said there are some on the earth that are experiencing the energy of being a new soul and feeding information back to the pods to prepare these new souls to come to earth, because they're coming onto a planet that is in turmoil and and so on and so on. We know what it's like. But from 2020, these children started to be born, and they are the purest souls we could ever imagine that could be born onto a planet that's still only really third dimensional.
Yeah.
And so when I said, we've got indigo children, we've got rainbow crystal children, what do we call them? And they said to me, what do you want to call them? And I said, well, they just glow. And they said, then use the word. So I refer to them as the glow children. But they are bringing such a vibration to the earth that we need to focus on the future of the earth through the children, which is part of the work that I do with the ICU Academy. But then just last week, I got up in the night to use the bathroom, and I got back into bed, and I closed my eyes, and I saw this small child. And I was like, well, I don't recognize you. Who are you, etc. And I heard 7 times the words Deo consciousness.
What's the word?
Deo consciousness.
Deo?
Deo, yeah. And I heard it 7 times, and I literally opened my eyes and I picked up my phone and I wanted to know what it meant. Well, obviously we know what consciousness is, but I didn't realize Deo, spelt D-I-O, is God.
Yes, that's right.
So then I'm so excited, and I'm writing notes down, and then in the trance session we had the other Sunday, last week, I said to the girls, please ask Anna what this Deo consciousness is. And she said to the girls in the room, what you have all been working with to bring the level of vibration up is the Christ consciousness energy. And she said, we're sending the children with the God consciousness energy. We're taking it to a whole new level.
God. That's crazy. I remember when I woke up 10 years ago, it was through the faces that guided me were these 6 prophets, right? 6 biblical, Abraham, Isaiah, but when it started, because when I first woke up, I said, well, what about, this is all great. I can see souls and, angels. And I said, what about Jesus? And then that's how it started, right?
Yeah.
So once I sat with these 6 ascendeds, for a while, I had a conversation, and I said, because they were showing me how everything was created. And I said, well, what about Jesus? And they said, well, here's the earth, here's the galaxy, here's the universe. And they just showed me like a poof.
Yeah.
They said, we don't know. It just went poof. So that reminds, the reason I bring it up, because it reminds me of that. It's God.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the God, it's source. There's no intermediary. It's just a direct birth. Yeah.
Well, have you heard of the word Anu?
I have heard it. I don't know what that means.
Right. Anu is the ultimate consciousness of God. Okay, it's the energy that incorporates everything into the I am, the one. Okay, and so when we were in this trance session, Anna was talking about this, the Council of Light. She was talking about the Anu consciousness, the Deo consciousness, and the Christ consciousness. And she said, on that moment, that pivotal moment in your lives, when the triangle becomes the pyramid, you're looking at 4 levels of consciousness that we all need to be aligned with. And her words were Anu, Deo, Christos, Spiritos.
Mm-hmm.
And she repeated it 3 times, Anu, Deo, Christos, Spiritos. And that was an incredibly powerful moment.
Yeah. Just like, I'm just thinking to myself, just, a lot of times I'll do, just on a personal level, do like, I guess you would call them mantras. Mm-hmm. Just to repeat those words,
Yes.
Sitting with those words, I can feel it.
Yeah. If you just repeat them, she said them 3 times. And if you just sit there, Anu Deo Christos Spiritus, Anu Deo Christos Spiritus, Anu Deo Christos Spiritus. Yeah. It brings that, I mean, I'm literally buzzing as I say it.
Yeah. Yeah, I can feel it.
Yeah. Yeah. So the children are bringing the Deo consciousness to the earth. And it's not that we need to ignore the Christ consciousness, because we're still working with that on all levels, but they will bring this to a whole new level. Yeah. So the work that I do, and I train teachers and other people around the world are working with the children. I knew several years ago that at some point this particular work would start to unfold at a rapid pace. And it is happening now. But then I realized why it's happening now, because we need to have enough teachers around the world ready and in place, working with children now, but the children that were being born in 2020, bearing in mind that we work with the children from the ages of 5 till 12, we've only got another 3.5 years to be ready for the 2020 children to be the age of 5.
How do you see that happening? Like, I mean, I don't know if you could even answer this, but like, I think of like, how do we find them? How do you teach them? How do you organize it? And maybe the universal energy will assist, and I'm sure it will, but
well, what's happening, I've kind of been under the radar for quite a long time. That's probably why people don't know who I am. And that was fine by me. But suddenly people are finding me to a point where, we've got the Superhuman movie that Caroline Corey made. We've got the Superpower documentary that Danny Blitz has made. These are 2 ladies in California. And suddenly my world has exploded, especially since the Superpower documentary. Todd, in the last 2.5 months, I've had nearly 1,000 emails.
Wow.
How do I get my child taught? How do I become a teacher? And I've got this rolling program at the moment of training teachers around the world. And, I'm doing most of it on Zoom because I can't travel to all these places. And so we're preparing. People are coming forward in their droves. And I know that there's a lot of people born in the 80s that are ready, and they will be the warriors that take it forward. I'm not saying if you're not born in the 80s you can't, but the children of the 80s will be the pioneers, the warriors that take this forward for the children. And so right now we're in the foundation period of getting enough teachers ready, because when we're ready, the children will come. My favorite saying is, build it and they will come.
Yeah.
From Field of Dreams.
And there's, and I wonder how many initiatives like yours are out there. such as Mary Rodwell,
Yes,
the book, The New Human, and the work that
absolutely.
she does. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I think you all have been under the radar, but not for long.
No.
It's funny because over the years doing this show, a lot of people will come on and say, there's going to come a point where we're put to work. Well, I think that point is now.
Oh, and some, yeah. I mean, Mary and I have the odd conversation, just catch up, see what's happening in the world between us, and
Mhm.
and then carry on. And she does what she does, I do what I do, but we're all working for the same cause at the end of the day. But there are so many of us. I can't be under any illusion that what I do is unique, because it's not. I just do it in a certain way that will appeal to so many people. Someone said to me once, Nicola, why do you have 9 different healing modalities on your website? And I said, well, the simple answer to that is because I enjoyed learning how to do them. But when I facilitate healing's healing.
Mm.
I said, but those 9 different types of healing will attract 9 different types of people.
There you go. Yeah.
But what
There
they
you go.
get is the same thing.
Mm. Yeah. Many
So
paths up the mountain.
exactly.
But it's all a singular thing,
Absolutely.
right? Yeah.
So
Yeah.
moving forward with the children is so important right now. But we're literally laying the foundations, and it's building and building and building. I had a 5-year-old's mother call me. She wanted her son to do the ICU program, but he wanted to interview me.
What?
A 5-year-old wanted to interview me before he did the course.
Wow.
And he asked me some questions that were like, wow, this is incredible. And then he just finished by saying, yeah, you're the one for me.
Build it and they will come.
Exactly. So I know that these times are tough for people. I know that we're all feeling it, but we couldn't be alive at a better time right now.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
My soul sings daily, just literally, because we're even in the smallest, minutest way, we're making a difference. And nobody can do it on their own, that's for sure. But what I do for me, I'm doing for everybody, because I'm not separate from anybody. We're all together, we're all in it together. We're just one drop in the ocean. So if I'm having an off day and I'm feeling negative, then I'm rippling that out. So the more positive and upbeat we can stay, the better.
That's right. That's why, like when I use that term right here, it's all right here, I didn't mean, when I was given the name Soulogy, it was an Archangel Michael conscious. And I said, what is that? He said, the other side of truth. I said, what is that? He said, you figure it out. But so I started writing and realizing that I was basically, whatever, as a conduit, like you call it channeling or automatic writing. And one of the first things that came out was that the soul is the heart, the blend, the merging of the heart and mind of spirit. Yes. So it's like, it's so interesting because you have all that woo-woo. We all do. And we're like, whoa, and I was this in a past life, but it's so weird to me and paradoxical that it's the base element, the human being, the physicality and everything it is, and the conscious effort that it takes. And that's what I was referring to. So like when you say, be aware because of the connectivity that we are affecting everything. I mean, that takes a personal responsibility to stay on our game. And we can always all control delete. Yeah. Which I spend a lot of time doing. When I have a thought come in, I'll go, wait a minute. I thought it, and let me pull it back. Like, my intention that it works, and hopefully I caught it before it goes out.
But where do those thoughts come from? Are they internal? Are they external? Are they both?
I I would say that's a great question, because if you'd asked me that question 6 months ago, my answer would have been different. But as I've been traveling 2021, I have spent time differentiating the voices in my head. Let's just put it that way. And I've brought it down to Todd the human and Todd the higher self.
Yes.
Now I can pull other things out, but this is really what it comes down to. But to your point, it's helped me figure out what comes in very, very easily is not mine.
Okay, let me show you another diagram. I'm just going to open it very, very quickly, because I think this is going to help you understand maybe what you've just said in another way. So I created this diagram to help people understand. It was basically about transcending the ego, because I had a huge download in January about how to do this. But basically, everything that we experience in our consciousness is from the heart, except the ego being the mind. And if we are in our auric field and we're moving through consciousness through the dimensions in our soul, we have to understand that the higher self, the spirit, consciousness, and God are all integral within the heart space.
Yes.
So the ego will trigger us. The higher self will enable us to go through actions and how to be. Spirit, whether it's our own spirit or external entities, will guide us. Consciousness will enable the wisdom, but the God energy is the love. And the only difference between all of these is the subtle difference in the vibrational levels of the human being.
Wow. All contained in that
in the soul, within the soul.
Yeah. That's a great diagram.
Thank you.
That's a really great diagram, as it's the formation of that light blue line that contains everything. And then, of course, the kind of the macro micro thing.
Exactly.
It's almost like I look at it and say, God is the heart. The heart is God.
Absolutely. Exactly. And so when we're working with those levels of consciousness, nothing's external to us. So I was working with mentoring a lady this morning, and I was getting her to be that channel. And she'd got used to writing, but she wasn't used to verbalizing what she was channeling. And I was explaining to her the different terminology that we would speak or write, whether it was coming from the higher self or another source. And generally, if it comes from ourselves or the higher self, then we speak in the singular, as in I and we. But if it comes from a higher source of our own consciousness, whether it be spirit or God, it will be you. So I am speaking with Todd, or you are speaking with Todd.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense, because over the years, when we go to bed at night, Morgan and I put our hands together, we connect. 95% of the time, she does the talking. So she's the intuitive, she's the channel, which is pretty common in these feminine masculine situations. But you're right. There it is a very distinct when the way that the pronoun is used.
Yes. Absolutely.
I, we, and then the you. I mean, you're right. Thank you for that clarification.
You're welcome. And I was saying to her, when she was connecting with her light source, I was saying to her, tell me what you need to say. What are they saying to you? And she was speaking it. But I said to her afterwards, I said, what you said was perfect. But it was as if you were trying to interpret a foreign language. I said, so when you speak from on behalf of the external source, then you're going to get a sentence, and then you're going to listen, and you're going to interpret that sentence, and then you're going to speak it, and so on and so on. And when we can finely tune those levels of consciousness where we become the blend, the sacred union with the what we may perceive to be the external source, then the words just flow. Just give me a subject.
Divine union.
Okay. So if I ask for an external source right now to share some words with you about divine union, and I'm not blended with that source, this is how it would come. So I'm listening to the words. Right, so the divine union is a fraction of two sources, maybe more, that come together to create a sacredness. There needs to be a coherence between the levels of frequency that those sources come together to create a sacredness. However, when we bring the frequencies together and they are conducive, we get the harmonic coherence. Okay. So that's me working, listening, interpreting what I'm getting telepathically, and then sharing with you. Okay. Now, if I make that blend, and then just speak the words. Within the sacred union, you will only experience the harmonic coherence, for the frequencies that come together are neither separate or together, they are simply one. There is nothing that you or any other person upon the earth can do to disturb those frequencies, because within the sacred union, there is only harmony. There is the vibration of light that brings you together in one perfect place.
I see.
So to bring that together, it is simply that in order for us to be what we need to be to raise the vibration of the planet and to take it forward, we need to move out of the way.
Yeah. I remind myself daily to shut the F up and get out of the way. Actually, it's shut the F up and get the hell out of the way. But you're right.
But we are the source of communication on the earth.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can see that in the community, how we get something and we want to share it. And whether it comes out a little bit a little bit less than it was when it came in because of the process, it's still the intention and also the example of what you're talking about.
Todd, if you take a history book about the Second World War, and one's written by somebody from Germany and one's written by somebody from America, they're going to be two different interpretations of the same event.
Yeah.
Because they come down to human interpretation. And that's the same for spirituality, for consciousness, because it's in the mind of the human being that is the interpreter for the information that's being received. If we release any form of limitation within ourselves, then what we're going to be bringing is the purity of consciousness as the channel without interpretation.
Like you just demonstrated.
Absolutely.
There's no hesitancy. There's no thought.
It flows.
Yeah. And I think everybody's experienced that. Maybe not in that form, but like, playing a sport or riding a skateboard, or there's just that space. You can't even explain it. It's just like this.
It's the zone.
Yeah. The zone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, people say to me, you know, or they used to say a long time ago, you know, if you're spiritual, you're working on that level of consciousness with God, therefore you shouldn't be paid for what you do. And I've said many a time, so where does an author get his or her words from? Where does a composer get the notes from? Where does an artist get the picture, the image to put on the canvas from? And we are all channels of consciousness. You know, a new cure through medicine, you know, a new technology through an engineer. We are all channels in one way or another. It's not the human mind that's creating it. It's the energy that we are in consciousness that delivers it.
That's right. That's it. That's it. It's like what you said earlier. It comes from the I/we, not from the, yeah. And it's that lesser God mentality that, so get out of the way.
Yeah. Yeah. As pure as it can be is what is going to be closest to the truth.
Yeah.
You know, and we're all capable. It doesn't, you and I, Morgan, everybody, we are all capable. It just depends on how much passion and dedication we're prepared to put into it. Yeah, I've said to people in the past, again, they've said to me, I'd just like to be like you. And I laugh and I say, well, you know what, you can't be like me, but if you want to start to work towards your potential, then, you know, go ahead. But this is how I did it. And, you know, I've shed blood, sweat and tears. I've gone through healing crisis like you can't imagine. I've shed multiple layers. I've shed people in my life. I've spent thousands of pounds to learn, to grow, to travel and do everything I need to do to be in service to humanity. I've lost friends and family, all sorts of things. And I say to them, are you prepared to put that much dedication into becoming the best version of yourself? And most people just shrug their shoulders and say, I don't think I've got it in me. But that's what we do. That's what you do. That's what most of the guests do that you interview. We are all on a journey of self-discovery as well as being a channel for consciousness.
Yeah. How am I supposed to do more shows after doing one with you?
The best way you can, because you know you will.
I know. I'm just, this is what it's all about. This is, you know, I mean, when Morgan walked in the door, I mean, this, and the whole third energy of Soulogy began to communicate. This is the platform for the voices of the Mother Goddess, and they've been under the radar.
Yes.
Right. And you know, this is a singular event, so to speak, that is a reflection of what's happening all over this world. And it's just, it gives me chills. I mean, it's like, how do you, it's kind of like, if you talked about cartoons, right? I think of Fred Flintstone, or what's that old show, The Honeymooners, with Jackie Gleason? And, you know, well, it's the same recipe. You know, Fred goes out and has this brilliant idea. He's you know what I mean? Yeah. And at the end of the show, he comes back with his tail between the legs because the rock is that goddess. You know what I mean? I mean, it's like there's no way to contend with it.
Yeah.
There really isn't.
But you know, sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say the beautiful thing is not only is that occurring, but there's also, you know, metaphorically, a baby being born. And that's what's you're talking about, and that's what you're dedicated to. We're all dedicated to, but you really, explained it well today.
Yeah. It doesn't matter whether we're in a masculine body or a feminine body right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's allowing that sacred union to be in one. Because when we see that within ourselves, we are ultimately connected to each other through that sacred union. That's what Jesus and Mary Magdalene represented, the sacred union.
That's right.
And that's what's been feared for so long by those that don't want it to evolve.
Oh.
Because within that sacred union, there is no separation.
That's right. Well, there's really no resisting it at this point. It's futile.
It is. It's
futile. And I think any group that may have had the secreted knowledge, being applied, for purposes that we know, they know. They're not stupid. You know what I mean? So it's
that's what they've been trying to prevent for thousands of years.
Mm-hmm. What a story the human journey is.
Oh, you could never put it in a book.
No.
It could only ever be a verbal interpretation. You could never write the human story.
No.
And actually, it wouldn't even be verbal. It just has to be experienced.
I was going to say you'd have to be there.
Yeah.
Which, if I look back at these shows over the years, people come on and say, do you know how many billions of souls are lining up to come here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And right now we've got brand spanking new ones.
Mm-hmm. God, think of that.
Yeah.
Think of that. I mean, think of course, the value of any of us with who knows how many incarnations, not just in the earth, but all over the place. And to think of the level of, experience that the universe has had, so to speak, and then to go and create a new generation of glow children.
No karma, nothing.
Yeah. You're right. Anything's possible. I mean, that's just like, I was absolutely fascinated. This is the third and last time I'll mention it in 2 days, but I saw this video on Inspired channel on YouTube, and it was a military insider who had been working in Project Looking Glass, which, if anyone's familiar with that, that's a technology that allowed those powerless powers that be to look into the future and then manipulate present events in order to change the future. Well, they shut the program down, and I never knew why. And this gentleman came out and he said, well, the reason they shut it down is because once you got to 2012, there was only one timeline, and no matter what they did and what simulations they ran, there was nothing they could do.
Nope.
And I thought, wow, that's it.
Yeah.
Like, this is it. I mean, this is the real deal. It's happening.
Well, once we hit 2012, karma was instant.
Mm-hmm.
There's no longevity in karma anymore. The egos started to really fight back hard because they were losing control over the human mind. Everything changed in 2012 to take us on a straight path rather than a deviated one that we've been on for a very long time.
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah.
Ain't that the truth? You look at my life, other people's lives in these communities, and how it may have been hell to the human, but it did put you on a straight and narrow. Exactly. It really did. People doing things that don't even make any sense.
Yeah. The download that I got in January about the ego, it was so profound that, the ego, as I was told, was created 13,000 years ago when Earth fell through consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And it was to help humans navigate through the darkness and to survive. But so many humans gave the power to the ego because they were so grateful to be able to survive and navigate, that the ego became equally as powerful as the spirit. And just as we have Akashic records connected to the spirit and the soul, we have something that I can only find a word called egoic records, because the ego has a record of all your triggers through every lifetime as well. So the work I was given in January was to bring the ego in line with the spirit, and for the ego to hand over the drama to the spirit, but it becomes the navigational tool once again. Because the ego knows how to navigate through every situation that you've experienced in every lifetime. But if it knows that its role is to do that, then it hands over the experience to the spirit to take it through with grace and ease, and it simply becomes the navigator again.
That's right. The spirit's like the scout, it's like the radar, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because people have talked about that over the years on the show too, is where how now its role has kind of changed, or the application of it has changed, where there's nothing better to give you the red flag that you need than the ego, right? I mean, it's like, whoa, trigger. Okay. But it's a different response now. So
it is. The ego sits in the brainstem. We've got the autonomic nervous system that's made up of the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system. And when our fight or flight is triggered, the two glands in either side of the brain, the amygdalas, fire backwards straight into the hands of the ego. And that's why when we have a reaction to something, that it's possible to stay in that reaction for days.
Yeah.
Because until that amygdala gland fires forward back towards the front of the brain, you're not going to go into the parasympathetic nervous system anytime too soon.
That's a good point too, because sometimes it lasts for years.
It does.
I
only have to look at my own mother. She's been held in a state of anguish for decades because of something that occurred, and her whole life, I feel, has been practically wasted in staying in that mode.
Yeah, I can relate to that with my own.
Equally, I thank her with all my heart, because she's shown me how not to be.
Yeah, and then at some level, that's a soul, and it just looks the way it looks. That I've often said that who would you rather have down here as your chief antagonist than those who you're closest to? In the monadic realm, or in the universe. We've had a schedule screw up, and normally we have 2 hours. We have an hour and a half. I moved the last show back half an hour. I just don't even want to leave. So I don't know if you'd be. I probably shouldn't be so presumptuous, but maybe I'll send you a message today and directly, and let's have a conversation. Are you open to that?
Absolutely.
Okay. Because we want to do whatever we can to bring you above the radar, bring you into the I think this is because I have a feeling, I have a knowing that the more that this type of frequency, be it you or those like you, is put out there, the more we'll step up.
Absolutely.
So
so many people say, Nicola, you're so normal, like so. And I say, well, I might have a halo, but if I want to misbehave and it trips me up, then I'll let it, because I'm still having human existence as well.
See, that's the real indicator for me over the years, watching all this, having the privilege of sitting in this chair and watching all kinds of people who have all kinds of skills, abilities, sensitivities, and gifts. But it's the humanness that makes it. I had a beautiful show with a lady yesterday, beautiful, Alicia Brachet out of Australia, who confided in us. Tears. I mean, this was a very extraordinary example of the human as the hero. And she talked about how, and I won't get into her story and everything, but how a mantid appeared in her bedroom. and to basically tell her and reinforce what she was trying to pull together, like, what the hell's going on? I mean, am I really getting this? Do I understand this? And they came in and they said, yeah, this is what's happening, and we're on the team. We're not the thing, but we're the highest level aspects that are assisting. And she said to the mantit, well, what about the emotional part?
Yeah.
And he said, well, we didn't figure that in. She said, and her energy, and this was so powerful. Her energy was like, well, you're going to. And I thought, wow, because it had to do with the birth of, it had to do energetically with the same thing that you're talking about with these glow children, and the role of the feminine. Some science and mechanics in it, you know what I mean? But and I thought, wow. So there's been, for all intents and purposes, let's say, modifications made and things happening, and this mantit actually told her, we've never done this before this way. And so I thought, wow, what a perfect example of the God code, in that this feminine that's made in the image in the physical is not going to take no for an answer.
Exactly.
And is going to bring the emotional quotient not only into the realm, but into that child that she bears.
Absolutely.
I thought, even the mantis doesn't know what's going to happen, because this child that's being born has something that they don't even know about.
Exactly.
Right. So this is amazing times.
It is
amazing, amazing to see. Like you said, it's not about being, I'm in a male body, you're in a female body, but it's this feminine goddess, mother goddess energy that's coming out in all of us. Yeah. And of course, it makes sense that it's first and foremost, in general, in the feminine incarnates. But what an incredible journey. What an honor to be here with you always. And I just want to thank you again for all the work you've done and sticking to it. And most of all today, for being human.
Yeah, thank you. I had a row with consciousness once. I was having an off day, and I said to them, you don't know what it's like down here. You do not know what it's like to walk this earth. Some days it's like floating, and some days it's like walking through treacle. And the answer I got back was, thank you. Yes. And I said, what are you thanking me for? And they said, if you don't tell us, we don't know.
Don't know. Yeah. They're learning from us too.
Oh, absolutely. Because Mother Earth said once, don't be under any illusion that you star seeds are bringing your vibration to the earth just one way, because when you return to your origin, you will be taking Earth back with you.
That's right. I was told years ago in communion that this is a universally seeded planet. Yeah. And that once we get on the other side, we will go back, and we all serve, and we will be literally universal healers, because we'll have this huge expanse of code that we've embodied. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. God, you're incredible. I'll reach out to you. Thank you so much. I don't know what else to say.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
You're incredible. Thank you.
Thank you, Todd, and lots of love to everybody.
I'll talk to you soon.
All right, my love.